What's up guys, hope you're well. If you've come across this video, you've probably come across my videos on either TikTok, Instagram or YouTube, and you're probably wondering what the fuck I'm going on about. Well anyway, in this video I'm going to give you a rundown on my personal journey into the online space. So let's get to it, shall we? So a bit about myself. I grew up in a small country town in South Australia, which was a great place to grow up. Everyone knows everyone kind of lifestyle. So going back to 2015, I was your typical Aussie kid. I wasn't bad at school by any means. In fact, I actually got pretty good grades in year 12. Yes, believe it or not. In saying that though, by the time I'd finished year 12, I was well and truly over it. There was no way in hell I was going to go to uni and put myself through another 4 years of school. I just couldn't do it. I just simply didn't have the patience or the desire to do that. So like a lot of young Aussies, I was offered a carpentry apprenticeship straight out of school. And still having no idea what I wanted to do, I jumped at the opportunity. I just felt that no matter what happened in my life, having a trade would always benefit me and I'd have something to fall back on if shit ever hit the fan. So I accepted the offer, started my apprenticeship. And to be honest, even though carpentry is not what I wanted to do long term, I still had a great time with the guys that I was working with throughout the 4 years of my apprenticeship. I wouldn't change it for the world. And then after my 4 years, I was like, all right, cool. Well, what now? I still knew that I didn't want to do it long term, but I literally had no clue what else to do. All I knew is that I wanted to earn money, so I continued working as a qualified carpenter for the next 2 years. And like a lot of 18 to 22 year olds, I was going out a lot, partying a lot, doing things that probably weren't in the best interest of my mental and physical health. Still unsure of what I wanted to do, I decided the best thing for me would be a change of scenery. So I made a few phone calls. I managed to land myself a civil construction job over in WA with my best mate that I did my apprenticeship with. So towards the end of 2021, we packed up our shit and headed to the west. And once we got over there and started working, our pay had gone from $27 an hour to around $40 an hour. So it felt like we were newly made millionaires. So that was good. We both bought ourselves new cars. We were bouncing between jobs from working in town, mine site here, mine site there, back in town, 6-7 days a week. But eventually it just got to the point that, we're working 6 or 7 days a week. We still weren't really getting anywhere financially and we had no freedom whatsoever to do what we wanted. So after being in that job for around 2 years, I started applying for underground mining roles, thinking that would give me similar income, but a lot more time to do the shit that I actually enjoy, like camping, fishing, diving, hanging out with my mates, all that good shit. After months and months of sending out my resume, I finally had a company give me an opportunity. I landed a role as an underground nipper, which is basically an off-sider for the jumbo operator. It was a 2 week on, 2 week off roster, and I started that at the end of 2023, and to be honest, it was a pretty big eye-opener. Underground mining definitely was not as glamorous as I thought it was. Humid, very hot, very dirty, long 12-hour shifts, and hardly ever a break. It took me a good 3 to 4 swings to fully adjust to the working conditions and the sleep schedule, but once I did, I was all sweet. But after a couple of months, I came to realize, look, this is good. 2 weeks off every month to do what I want. The money was okay, but working at that intensity in those conditions is only sustainable for a certain amount of time. And I realized it wasn't something that I wanted to be doing for a very long time. My relationship was suffering from being away half the time, and when I'd come home for break, I would just be grumpy. My mental health was suffering a little bit, which I didn't really notice to begin with. I kind of thought, oh, it's mining, it's shit, but I'll be right. But upon reflection, looking back, I can see that my mental health was definitely suffering, even though I didn't really notice it at the time. When they say FIFO isn't for everyone, it definitely isn't for everyone. Although it was fine, I could handle it fine, I decided to dedicate every day of my break and every hour after work to learning new skills that would eventually lead to me getting out of FIFO. But I just had no clue what those skills were going to be. I tried some crypto trading, I lost money. I tried a few YouTube channels over the years, they never really took off for me. So I had to kind of reverse engineer it and think, right, how can I make myself valuable to a business so that I wouldn't have to pester a business, they would want to come to me? And that's when I came across the high ticket sales industry. Appointment setting, remote closing, and personal branding. I knew that this was what I wanted to pursue, but I had no fucking idea how I was going to get the skills. So I tried watching endless amounts of YouTube videos for a couple of months, but I just had no one to answer my questions and no one to give me feedback. So how was I to know if I was fucking up? So I needed help. Yes, Brodie, swallow your ego. get some help. So I reached out to someone that I knew had the skills that I was trying to learn. And he was able to put me in touch with his mentor, someone who had walked the exact path that I was trying to walk. This was exactly what I needed to get the ball rolling. So I invested in myself, invested in my skills, and started learning the new set of skills. So I began learning whilst juggling FIFO every night after work, every day when I was on break. And for the first month or two, I really didn't get far. I hadn't landed a role, but I felt like I'd gained some really good knowledge in the space. Towards the back end of my second month, I finally landed my first appointment setting role. This was a huge step in the right direction for me because I knew it wasn't much, but it was going to lead to bigger and better things. So I began setting, and for my first week, I didn't make any commissions, which I kind of expected, so I didn't let it get me down too much. But in my second week, I was out in my FIFO room doing some setting after work for an hour, and I managed to book in 2 calls before I went to sleep. I woke up for my shift the next morning and I had a message saying that one of those deals had actually closed, and I'd earned myself around $500 in commissions, which was actually more than I made for my entire 12-hour shift working underground. Fucking crazy, right? And I just made it from an hour of sending DMs on my phone. It really opened my eyes to the possibilities and potential that the online space has. I kept on setting and I was making some okay money, but I realized I wanted to make some real money. And if I wanted to do this, I came to the understanding that being the content creator and promoting these products was where the real money was made. So I began my journey in building my personal brand, and I just started posting on TikTok to begin with, because to be honest, I was petrified of what all my friends were gonna think if I posted on Instagram. So yeah, in my brain, I was just hoping that they wouldn't see it and pay me out for it, basically. I was really quite enjoying posting content. I was, making some people laugh, talking about some controversial topics, and I was getting a few videos blow up. I definitely found a passion in content creation, even though I got into the space just wanting to remain anonymous and earn some good money, to then completely changing my perspective and actually wanting to become a content creator. So I dropped the appointment setting and started marketing high ticket digital products. And within my first month of going all in on content, I was still working in FIFO, and I actually managed to bring in over $8,000 in commissions, which well and truly replaced my FIFO income. I didn't quit my job straight away because, growing up, I'd always had it drummed into me that I needed a job. Like, if you don't have a job, you're fucking useless. And I just had that mindset and I couldn't seem to shake it. So I continued working in the mines for a bit longer, posting content on the side. I was making pretty good money, between 5 and 8K a month consistently. But I got to the point where I was never going to be able to scale above that income if I was still working half the time. So in August 2024, I put my back against the wall and quit my job to go all in with content. And for the first month after quitting my job, I only made around $3,000, and I was really questioning whether I'd made the right call. But I didn't let it get me down. I stuck to it, kept posting content, kept grinding, and in my second month after quitting my job, I brought in over $13,000 in pure commissions, and all the work had finally paid off. So I made around $13,000 in September from appointment setting and digital marketing, and from then till now the income has fluctuated a bit. Some months are a little under 10K and some are 11, 12, 13K, which, don't get me wrong, I'm very grateful for. However, now that I've found a business model that works and seen some small success, my focus has shifted, and I need to be doing the same thing that I'm doing but on a much larger scale in order to be hitting those 50 to 100K months. The real money, which is now a matter of getting systems in place and having people do tasks for me that aren't the main priority for the business, so that I can focus on the main parts of the business that actually push the needle forward. So that's pretty much where I'm at now, and that's my journey of how I got here. If I can give one piece of advice to someone that is getting started or wanting to get started in the online space, no matter what avenue you want to go down, learn sales straight off the rip. Because even if you want to be a content creator, have your own offer, promote other people's offers, you're going to need to know the fundamentals of appointment setting and remote closing in order to make any sales. And if you're looking to get started and you're in FIFO like I was, don't let it overwhelm you. Don't try and jam too much into each day. Just do an hour after work, 2 hours after work, learn bits and pieces here and there, and just aim to get 1% better every single day. And then once you get to your R&R, really focus and lock in on honing in those skills. Role play with others and put what you've learned into practice. So that concludes the video. If you'd like to know anything else about my personal journey or how you can get started into the online space, just reach out to me on Instagram with the word YouTube and we can have a chat. Thank you for watching and happy learning.